In this video, I will discuss how to create a standby instance in case of the database failure. So whenever the database failure happens, there is a creation of a standby instance, and EC2 instance can access the standby instance. Therefore, it provides a high availability. And you can see in this diagram, there is a database failure, and there is a creation of a standby instance in the different availability zone. So this is also called as the multi-AZ, and we can make use of in case of the database failure. So let us try to do this with the help of the AWS. So AWS window is open. So what I will do is I will try to create the VPC over here. So I will try to create a new VPC. I will click on create VPC. So here I will choose my VPC only. So I will create the name as my VPC and the IPv4 range. So it is 10.0.0.0/16 is the VPC IP range. So I will create the VPC. So after creating the VPC, we will try to create the subnets. So I will try to create two subnets here. So one is like private and one more is like a public. So public is for the EC2 instance and the private is for the database instance. So I'll go to the subnets and create the subnet over here. So I will choose the VPC over here. So it is my VPC and the name of the subnet. So here I will give like public subnet. So choose the availability zone. So here I am going to choose US East 1A and the IPv4 range. So here I am going to choose the IPv4 range as 0.0/24. So I create the public subnet. Similarly, we will try to create the two private subnets. So here I will select the VPC. So this is for the primary database. So I will say private subnet 1 and availability zone. So I am going to choose US East 1A. So IPv4 range. So it is 10.0.0. I will say 1.0/24. So I will say create the subnet. So private subnet 1 is created. I will try to create the private subnet 2. So select the VPC and choose the subnet here. And this is the private subnet 2. So preference, so we'll give some other availability zone for this particular subnet because this is for the standby instance and the IPv4 range. So here it is 10.0.2.0/24. So create the subnet. So successfully I created all the subnets here. You can see that there are one public subnet and two private subnets. So after creating the subnets here, I will go for creating the route tables and I will say create route table. So this I will say like public route. So select the VPC. So it is my VPC. So create the route table. Create one more route table. This is for the private subnets. So this is the private route. So select the VPC. So create the route table. So here I will try to associate the subnets here. I will go to subnet association. I will edit the subnet association. So I will try to associate both the private subnets here. Save the association. So again I will go to the public route and try to associate with the public subnet here. Go to subnet association, edit the subnet association and choose public subnet. Save the association. What I try to do is I will go to internet gateways and I will try to create the internet gateway. So here I will say like IGW and create the internet gateway. So attach it to the VPC. So here I will try to attach it to the VPC here. So I will go to the route tables and in the public routes I will try to edit the routes here. So add the routes and this 0.0.0/0. So the target is nothing but the internet gateway. Save the changes. So here I created the two routes, public and private, and I associated with it. So this is the completion of VPC things. Now I try to launch the EC2 instance. Say EC2 and launch the EC2 instance. Go to instance, launch the instance. So select the machine here, choose the instance type. I'll choose t2.micro. Next go for configuration details. So here it is my VPC and what subnet I am going to choose is the public subnet, and I will enable the auto assign public IP. Next going to add the storage. I'll keep it as it is, and now I'm going to add the tags. So I'll say name, so I will say my EC2 instance. Configure the security group. I will keep SSH open. One more thing is I will add MySQL over here. Review and launch. So select the key, I'll choose public key. Launch the instance. So after creating the EC2 instance, so we are going to create the database now. So I'll go to RDS and I will choose the RDS here. So the thing is like we need to create the subnet groups. So I will go to the subnet groups here and I will try to create the DB subnet group. So here I will give the name as the my DB subnets and the VPC. So we need to choose the VPC, which VPC you want to go for. So that is nothing but my VPC. And availability zone, here we need to choose the availability zone. So I am choosing US East 1A, US East 1B. So both availability zone I have chosen. So now I have to select the subnets. So this is the two subnets that I am going to choose, 1.0 and 2.0. So after this I will try to create the subnets. So description, we'll try to use some description here. So DB subnets are created now. We can see that my DB subnets is created. So after this I'll try to create the database. So I'll go to the database over here and I'll try to create the database. So here I'm going to choose MySQL and I'll choose the version as MySQL 8.0. and I'll choose the production as my environment, and availability and durability. So here I'm going to choose multi-AZ DB instance. In case of the failure, there is one DB instance that is created, that is called as the standby instance. And here I'm going to choose the identifier as my DB instance, and the username as admin, and the password you can give whatever you want. It should be 8 characters. So I'm going to choose bus table class, and I'm going to choose t2.micro. The storage I'm going to choose the general purpose SSD, and I will remove all these things. So I'm going to choose my VPC as virtual private cloud here. So that is the thing, but the VPC. So here the subnet groups. So here it is the thing, but my DB subnet group. So I have to choose the subnet groups here, and that has been created before. The security group. So I need to create the security group here. So I'm going to choose. I'm going to say the new security group. Okay. So additional configuration, I'm going to keep it as a default, and additional configuration. So here I'm going to remove all these things, backup and enhanced monitoring, maintenance, deletion, protection. So I'm going to remove all these things. So create the database. So it will take some time. So it is creating. Let us try to wait it for 5 minutes till the status becomes available. That the status becomes available over here. So what I am going to do is I will click on this DB identifier. So I will go for the security groups here. So I click on this security group. In that particular group, what I am going to do is I will try to edit the important rules here. So I will delete this, and I will try to add the rule here. So this is the MySQL. So here what I am going to do is I am going to choose the security group of the EC2 instance. So this is the security group of my EC2 instance. Just save these rules. After this, what I am going to do is I am going to copy this endpoint here. So I will go to the notepad. So here I will say MySQL -p. I'll copy the endpoint. So I will say -u. The name of the user is admin. So here I say -p. So here it is -h. So -h the endpoint, and -u admin, and -p for the password. So after this I will just copy this, and I will go to putty. I'll open this. So you have to give the host name over here. So for that I will go to the EC2 instance and copy the public IP of the EC2 instance. So I will just go and I will copy this public IPv4 address, and I will paste over here. So go to SSH and go to authentication and browse the public key. So this is the public key.ppk. I will open this my EC2 instance and say accept. So this is EC2 user. So now what I am trying to do is I will try to connect to the MySQL. So before that I need to install the MySQL over here. So you install MySQL. So I have successfully installed the MySQL over here. So after this, what I am going to do is I will try to connect to the DB instance. So I'll just copy this and paste over here. Give the password that you are given at the time of creation. So I am successfully able to connect to the MySQL. So now what I am going to do is I will try to create some database over here. Create a database MyDB. So what I am trying to do is I will try to create the table over here. So I will make use of this database. Now I try to create the table. So create table is the name of the ID of the person. So this is nothing but the integer, and this is a primary key. And the one more thing is like p name. So this is nothing but the varchar type. So successfully I am able to create the table. So I just insert some of the values inside this table. So insert into person values. So here I give the name as ID as 1 and the name as something. And one more value I am going to insert. So here I will say 2. So let us try to retrieve the data. So there are two different values that are present in the table. So now what I am trying to do is I will try to exit this database. Let us try to look whether they are present in the replica or not. They are present in a standby instance. So here, before that, I am trying to look the IP address of the primary database. So by making use of the command ns lookup. So what is the IP address of this primary database? So I will just copy this endpoint here and I will paste over here. So this is the IP address of the RDS server 0.0.0./2. Sorry, this is the IP address of the RDS here. So 10.0.1.70. So here it is a primary database. Now what I am trying to do is I am trying to fail this database. I am making the database failure. So let us, after making the database failure, we'll try to see one more time what is the IP. So here I will try to go to the database and I will choose this database, and in the action I am going to reboot this. So reboot with what? With the failover. So before that we will try to see what is the availability zone. So here it is US East 1A. So this is the availability zone. So after the failure, the availability zone is going to change to some other zone, that is nothing but US East 1B. So what I am going to do is I will go to the action and I will try to reboot this and reboot with the failover. So I will just confirm this once. So the status becomes available over here. So what I am going to do is I will go to the DB identifier here. Again I am going to copy this endpoint. So go to the EC2 instance and again make use of ns lookup command. Now we can see that the IPS of the RDS server is changed. The IP address is 2.90. Earlier it was 1.70. Now it is changed to 2.90. So this is the IP address of the standby server, standby RDS server. So here we are trying to access the standby server now. The primary database is failed. Therefore we are trying to access the standby instance. So let us try to connect to the standby instance. The same endpoint that I am going to use here. So I am going to copy this and we store here, give the password. So let us see whether the database is present in the standby server. So here I make use of use my DB and show the tables. So I will say select star from the person. So these are the two values that are present in the table that I have created in the primary database. So in this way we can use the standby instance to have the high availability. So this is the use of the standby instance. So let us try to go to this RDS instance and see whether the availability zone has changed or not. So earlier it was US East 1A. Let us wait for this to change the availability zone. So you can see that the availability zone has changed to US East 1B. So earlier it was US East 1A, now it has changed to US East 1B. So this is the use of the standby instance, and this is what I have discussed in this video. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching this video.